Oh, hey, people watching. Hi, everybody. It's me, Johnny Got Dice. Hey, just so what everyone knows, I'm just going back through my template games, which I like to create to make sure that things are consistent for all my players. But right now, I am in The Lost Mine of Fandelver and just kind of redoing some dynamic lighting, making sure that that all is functional. So for every Lost Mine game we do, that it is consistent and makes sense and is easy to work with. One thing I do like to do, and if anyone is... so I'm in roll 20 right now, using the dynamic lighting features. I am... this is all pro user stuff for anyone who isn't a pro user and wants to be able to do this in their games. Definitely need to make sure that that is a part of it. So under the dynamic lighting settings, I have to give a shout out to one of my players who showed me that I can make lines in different thicknesses, so that is super easy. So over here on the left, right now I'm building indoors. I have a habit that I've got into earlier where I start with doors, then I go to secret doors, and then I finish off with regular walls. All of those are color-coded for me so that I know when my players are on the map. A little bit easier to do everything. And then, so I just come in, and so these are going to be thin, and just to kind of show you the difference if I were to add a couple of doors here. So that's the door that I use with the thin line. This is a thick door. And again, if you wanted to go crazy, I'll use this size. I'll use on some maps if I am splitting the map, but otherwise it's just, I kind of keep it on thin as I go here. So then again, this is the monotony sometimes of the technical prep for when you're trying to play games or provide games for people. Hopefully the stuff that the players never see, all of this necessarily time that it takes to do this kind of stuff. So again, a pair of double doors here, so I will just make the first door, come back with a little bit of an overlap, complete the door, and then I just, again, keep moving around the map, hoping that you get everything. Something I did learn, and a tip or trick that I will tell everyone, it's important to have this map aligned to a grid, because those grids do come in handy, especially during this step right here. So, and again, you just kind of keep going. A lot of times I don't think there are any on this map, but when you're working off of a map where the door is technically between two squares, the thing you want to keep in mind is that depending on your settings, if you have it set to that players need to stay on the grids or that they're going to be snapping to grids during a digital game, you want to make sure that you are making your door so that they fit through the grids. I know that sounds fairly obvious, but nothing worse when a player can actually go through a door that will open for them. Oh. And so we just come back over here. And I'm pressing escape through every one of these lines. That just ends it. Otherwise, you'll start dragging those things around the map with you. And good to work in sections so that you can, if you mess up a line, it will hold some of those lines in there for you. Hey, Blue, how are you? Glad you're with us. Glad I'm just not talking to myself. For those of you watching, yeah, feel free to interact in chat. Love to talk to you guys all. Also, guys, if you do me a favor, as I'm learning this stream game, if the audio is weird or you have or if I mute my microphone and I'm doing something like that, by all means, guys, let me know. It'd be great. So, Blue, are you a player or a DM? or a little bit of both, as most of us are. Wow, super experienced. Great to have you with us, though. That's awesome. Yeah, so yeah, guys, for if you haven't met me before, yeah, I started playing Dungeons and Dragons back in 1983, so a little bit old. Out on the playground with my buddy Rob, who I will always thank for this day. And again, the about 8 months ago, I semi-retired from my corporate job and started doing DMing full time. So there was a lot of learning curve that no one ever got to watch, which was me learning a lot of this. So, well, that's cool, Blue. Welcome to the community, man. It's a great place to be. My advice to you: focus on that character. Love your character. It makes your dungeon master's job easier. When you're the dungeon master, boy, if your players actually like who they're playing, whew, that's where it actually gets fun for everybody. All right, well, it looks like I found all of my doors, if I remember correctly. And guys, this is, for those of you that haven't played, this is the Wave Echo Cave. This is the finale dungeon inside of the Lost Mine of Phandelver. So, a lot of the other thing I will kind of show you guys is, now that the doors are done, there's not many secret passages here that I have to worry about. Otherwise, you guys would see me put in some yellow lines. But then, now comes the monotony of this, is that I like putting my walls in the bright blue, and keeping in mind how the players are going to move through the map. I will just kind of start at one point. I like the polygon line, meaning I can connect them together. I don't have a steady enough hand to do the freehand lines or the shapes. So all I do, kind of moving through natural features, is now I don't have to press escape anymore as I go. It's truly just moving around these rocks. Try to keep it looking natural so that when the players do have dynamic lighting on, they're getting the feel that this is going to be more of a jagged walkway. And always keeping in mind that the players need to be able to move along these grid lines. And if you guys do have questions while I'm doing all this, please feel free to ask. Are you talking source book, fiction book? I'm assuming fiction book, or I'm sorry, source book. I really, if we were going to talk about sourcebook, where I get the most enjoyment out of reading it, guys, I really like Tomb of Annihilation. It's one of my favorite adventure books there is. Sourcebook, man, I really like Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. I think it's there's some stuff in there that I would argue is a little bit really fun for players, makes it a little bit difficult for DMs, but there's a lot of great information in Tasha's that I think give players a lot to work with. Luckily I have the legendary bundle on D&D Beyond, so I've been, I have time that when I have a little bit of insomnia and I'm not doing what you're watching right now, just making sure that tweaking all of my games and making sure that they function the way I want them to. Yeah, those digital books, I love the hard copies. I am old school that way, but I also love the functionality of just having my iPad out and being able to go through books. But all the source books are good. I mean, I always find myself going back to source books all the time. Having to reread rules or finding something like that. Yeah, I would, especially as a new player, some of that stuff is going to be a little overwhelming. I think it's just a cool book. I'm assuming you already have your player's handbook, because otherwise I would tell you make sure you have that one first. Outstanding. Have you thought about what character you're going to try to play or that you want to play? That's always my favorite question to ask people. What's your favorite class of character? Oh, Blue, that was my time at my corporate job. I would buy all these books and I would just have them, but I was always so busy that I never got a chance to play them at all. So yeah, you're that whole thing. Tabaxi Circle of Stars, Druid, nice. Druids are fun. You'll have a lot of fun with druids. They have a lot of good function inside of them. Um, yeah, you are not choosing wrong. If another thing you want to think about here, guys, and this is you're going to watch me do this, especially in these areas during this map, you go from really clean walls into more of these caverns. So you want to always just keep in mind the grids for your players. So you want to try to follow the grid as much as I can here, but then I'll start moving. This is a little secret passage that they come through, so I want to give enough room that when my players get into this area, I'll have room to kind of fit them in these 6 squares right here, so that way they're walking into the sturges waiting for them. Tabaxi are fun though. Blue, I tell you what, I found one of my players is playing a Tabaxi bard, and I well, I did it. I did it wrong. He got frightened by a ghost and failed to save, and I ended up aging him 40 years. So now he is old man Tango, and he is a good sport about it, and he really leaned into that. So Blue, the other thing I would tell you, and it will also help your DM, man, as much of that backstory as you can fill out, and what I do with my players. So yeah, guys, Unplugged Games is the company I founded. So we do. I run 15 games right now throughout the week, because the superb owl. Is the joke that's going around my channel right now. But the Super Bowl is on, so the game that was I would normally be DMing in about 40 minutes, they decided to push a week to make sure everybody was back and ready to go. They for new players or for any campaign I run, I have a character backstory worksheet that we put together that is almost 300 questions just about what your character was doing before they started adventuring. And 300 questions is a daunting task for my players. But as a DM, it helps me get an idea. I one of the things I've always loved about D&D was the cooperative storytelling aspect. So if my characters really love their characters and they're invested in what has happened to them up to this point, it's definitely a nice thing to see, that some of my players have siblings who are in other games, meaning their characters' siblings, which is fantastic. The Ainsworths are a thing in my world where, the one sister is in a campaign, and then I have another campaign where her other sister is in that one. So it's just it really adds a sense of authenticity to what is happening in the total universe. So yeah, the other neat thing, guys, is that this behind the screen thing, this is something that I've been wanting to do for a while. because otherwise I'm sitting in my hole of my office here just doing this by myself. And funny thing is, I talk to myself anyway, so it's nice to, I guess, have other people to talk to while I do this. But the whole idea of this, so guys, like and subscribe if you like what I'm doing. My goal is to do this, during these breaks of any time that I'm actually doing prep, get out there and show people what I'm doing. And then at the same time to be able to offer chances for people in the stream to go, hey John, how do I do this? Hey John, can you show me how you do these token actions you always talk about? And just kind of give tutorials as I go. I think that might be helpful. I don't know. So Blue, when does your game start? Or how long until your game starts? Nice. Oh, beautiful. Yeah, streaming is. Uh, you should see hopefully a link somewhere on my. I think I did it. Our YouTube channel. We stream an Oracle of War game every Tuesday, and then the videos on demand go up on Sundays. I have another group playing it about a week later, so I never want to spoil things for them, which is why I have to give a little bit of time in between our live stream and our, publishing it on YouTube. But yeah, there's a definitely a technical learning curve on making sure that the stream works right. If you get a chance to go check us out on YouTube, then it's definitely my audio is weird. Working on syncing issues with all of my players across Discord. All right, hey, do me a favor, share your link with me, and I'll give you a follow too. So I'd love to. The creative writing would be interesting. So, is that you just kind of talking to people about what you're writing? Because that actually sounds like a really cool idea. Oh, see now, quick lesson, everybody. Yeah, see, I got a little bit. I wasn't paying attention, and my cave wall went into my brick wall there. So I gotta start backing out this line until I can sink back in here. Okay, awesome, Blue. Thank you. Um, So the other thing I try to do, and now you have two options here, guys, and it depends on how steady your hand is and how good your mouse is. A lot of times, once I butt up to a door, you can just make it so it ends there. Will block the dynamic lighting. You can press escape, and now your line is ended. Now, the other reason that's probably good is I've gone on for a little while here of if I screw up one of these lines and something goes wonky, I'm going to lose all of that work. So this is almost like the save early and often. But another thing that I can do is, and I'll do this if I'm for expedience, I'll come back up here, start this line, start my new walls. And then when I come to this little area right here, I come in and then I just come right back to the area so I can follow all along the line. Diagonals are kind of fun, so you just make sure you know where that line's going to go so that it gives that idea. And again, ending that room. kind of too far to trace back. I don't like to go too many steps, but new job. All right. What do you do for a living? And guys, I'm new to this whole streaming thing, so if I'm not supposed to ask any of that kind of stuff, just let me know. Rapper or Reaper, yes, Reaper. Welcome. Starting out with Roll20 or starting out in D&D? I have a ton of recommendations. Oh, blue, outstanding. That's cool. That's gotta feel like that's probably it's making a difference, which is nice. My corporate job was I was a government, worked for a government consulting company, so it just sucked the life right out of me. But D&D. Well, first and foremost, Reaper, getting started in D&D is, make sure that you understand a couple things about what you want to get out of it. What I always loved about D&D from a very early standpoint is I was always into my characters. One of my first DMs as I got a little bit older that I would always argue it wasn't just me and my friends killing monsters. When we really started, the DM that made me think about my character and me getting to pretend to be something else. And he had said to me, I'm not looking for role players, I'm looking for frustrated actors. People who who want to pretend to be somebody else and will swing for the fences with that. So that's the other thing that I would always recommend, man. Swing for the fences with your character. Have a great concept and be true to that character. Not necessarily what you as a person would do, but always asking yourself, what would this character do? Be brave when it comes to making the choices with your characters like that. The second thing is just be open and honest with your DM and the other players. And this is something that I promote on my channel a lot, guys, is the best advice I can give you is focus on everybody else at the player. Everybody else at the table. If every player were to focus on everybody else, or that golden rule, if I'm more concerned about everybody else at the table having a good time, then I can trust that the other players and the dungeon master at the table will be focused on me having a good time. And it's giving more than you receive, because then you're going to receive more than you thought you would. When that spotlight comes around, I love it when players around my table all lift up that character and really let the spotlight shine on them. And then it's even more fun to watch the very next moment or in another adventure where a different character is lifted up by those players. So, I mean, just make sure that you understand that it's the ensemble cast. As a dungeon master, I normally tell my players, I'm old. I don't know if, the show Friends, a very ensemble cast. Nobody was really starring in that show. Well, you had the 6 friends starred, and every episode was about normally one or a few of the friends. So keep that in mind, that you're one of the stars of the story, not the star. And then from there, the other one is just understand it's going to take. There is a ton of information. There's just a ton of information out there, and there is no way that you're going to know all of it beforehand. Depending on who your dungeon master is, I'm a firm believer in the rule of cool, so that's how I run my games. A lot of times when I have new players, I don't ever want them to get caught up in the rule mechanics. I would much rather say something like, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to do? And I go, well, I'm trying to do this. And I'm like, oh, that sounds awesome. Roll these dice and let's see if it happens. So don't be afraid to try stuff. That's my other advice. And then read the rules that apply. And, just be open and honest. I think games should be fun. If you're not having fun, then I think that you should just have those type of conversations. that's my starting advice for you. And the other one is be bold. Um, I have a lot of players who are always just, ooh, I suck at accents and I don't want to try a voice for my character. And I always just kind of say, man, swing for the fences. Yeah, where the folks on Critical Role, yeah, all of those folks are professional voice actors, so they sound great when they do it. But it's a lot of it is trial and error. I actually went to I'm high school friends with a professional voice actor down in LA who he actually was the voice of Po of Kung Fu Panda in the television series. Name is Mick Wigert. That's me name dropping people that I know that are famous because I think it's so much fun that I'm like, I know him. We played D&D together. That's so great. But yeah, it's voices are tricky, but with practice you get better at it. I mean, I've always kind of said I have a lot of players. It's always everyone tries to be a little bit British, and yeah, well said, Blue. Yeah, it's a little bit silly is okay. A little bit, and sometimes no matter what game you're playing, having a little bit of humor is helps break the tension. Oh yeah, no Reaper, and that's the interesting thing. So Warhammer 40K. That was my bread and butter for a while. I don't do anything halfway. That's just a weird thing about me. So when I got into 40K, man, I was trying to write stories about my characters, even though I had this great little painted miniature. I didn't care about the I was like, oh, it's gonna die. I mean, you're gonna kill my model, but this character. Oh yeah. Oh, mass amount. Yes. Um, I would almost argue more. I mean, those the 40K rule books were always tomes of knowledge, but when you look at a collection of D&D books, that is the rule book plus all the codexes, to use the lingo, if that's still the lingo I suppose is used. Oh, okay. And then also, guys, I guess my other one is understand digital is different. Digital is a different world if you're playing online versus you're playing face to face. An interesting thing to think about is, oh my, oh, now I know who you. Okay, there we go. Is this Carlos or is this who? Yeah, look at, I know people. Oh God, homebrew. Oh, homebrew. Homebrew hurts my heart. Homebrew hurts my head. There's a lot of, well, don't get me wrong. I think that homebrew is great if a DM has it because it shows that your dungeon master went through a lot of work to try to immerse in that room. All right, try to immerse that story. So, but just everything balanced is my other thing. Sometimes difficult. Well, Reaper, I hope the family's doing well. Or I guess I could call you by your given name, Carlos. I hope your family's well, buddy. And this is, again, guys, this is definitely the side of digital gaming that most players don't see. Um, when you buy maps off of Roll 20, or if you're buying the modules for some of these games, the reason you're buying it is because someone has already gone through and done this dynamic lighting work. But the problem is that there are so many great maps out there that can make things better. That then all of the dynamic lighting is kind of worthless at that point in time. So, well, Carlos, send them my love. And I know they're all old now. I got to imagine that they are, God, teenagers. I feel for you and Kelly. I do. But yeah, this is definitely, if you ever want to get into DMing, just know that this is part of it. And I get a little bit type A with this kind of stuff. I like things to be perfect, and I like things to work. But just understand that the more work you do here, the better experience my players have. Oh, look at, see, I forgot a door, so you get to see. So I'm going to end my blue lines here. I'm going to switch back over to my pink lines for my doors and just drop that bad boy in. I like the doors first, only because then I know where my walls are supposed to get to and where my overlaps happen. But Carlos, when are you and the missus going to get into one of my games and let me be a dungeon master for you? Oh my God! I will fight. Come at me, girl. Yeah, but just so you know, when I got out of the army, I wanted a nice, easy. Well, it wasn't easy, but it was just a nice job to get to be a change of pace for when I was a soldier. So I was a manager of a games workshop in Tacoma, and Carlos and his wife Kelly and their daughters were customers of mine, and love them to death. And I'm happy they're here supporting my new venture. So thanks, guys. And as a reminder, and so guys, also so you know, the music that you're hearing in the back, you guys hearing music in the background? Hoping that you are. Well, right when I said it, it ended, but oh, perfect. Yeah, so that is a program called Sirenscape, which basically is a company that does a lot of pre-made audio for Dungeons and Dragons and other role-playing games. But what it does is it during games, it lets you have and I can kind of show you guys the soundboard because this is just game prep, so you can kind of see that. Again, this is the Death House backing. This gets me in the right mood for gaming, but it's got cool sound effects that you could play, spells, battles. I have fun with stuff like this. Or every time I tell a bad joke when I'm just like, oh, and this happens, and then being able to... Hold on, I always miss it. But yeah, it's a great immersion tool when we play. So you'll get to hear some really spooky stuff. I really like this for my Curse of Strahd games. I like the horror genre. It's kind of fun. It's like telling ghost stories. So I have a good time with that. And yeah, this, getting to play this kind of music during those games, especially being able to, as you tell those stories, and just at the perfect time have that sound come in. So yeah, that's another tool that we use. All right, so back to dynamic lighting. Okay, now this is an interesting map, guys, because, and I think I screwed this up so many different times. So as you notice, the little walkway kind of here, and then you have this little room. But what I didn't like is I didn't like that I think this was a wall, but here's the other problem. I see the same wall over here, or if this was supposed to be a raised platform because there's a desk on it. I never liked the idea that my players could technically just come up these stairs, and walk up this and just find the main bad guy right here. So a lot of times what you have to do is start thinking, oh, okay, well, I think maybe this is a wall then, and then this is a little hallway, and really blocking off that that entrance. Okay, hold on. Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes, that is one of my favorites. Anytime anything to do with a mimic, I think is hilarious. It's one of my favorite things to throw at players, especially when you have rogues. Oh, Polly, thanks for hanging out. Oh, yeah, I mean, come on, but guys, it's the Super Bowl. I know a lot of people want to watch that, so I just know that I don't care, and thus I would rather be here. Um, yeah, T-Bar, what's up, buddy? Yeah, no, I haven't, bro. Do you know of one? Because I have never found an API that works with Roll20. I just use the Sirenscape by itself, and just got rid of the idea of keeping maps or keeping audio linked to the Roll20 file itself. That's just me. Well, Carlos, you tell Kelly that she needs to. I know she's not too cool to play Dungeons and Dragons, and that anytime you guys want to get into one of my games and pretend to be somebody really cool, you let me know, and I would be happy to be a dungeon master for you guys. And Blue, you too. Anytime any of my games you want to jump into, by all means, just let me know. Oh, for sure, buddy. Actually, if you, I think you're already in our Discord channel. If you go to player resources, that a link to that is pinned there. Oh, the rule books, reading rule books for fun. Yes, that is the again the old jokes of being a player in D&D, that you'd keep making characters because you have to get an idea out, and you're like, oh, this would be a great character. And then the other challenge is finding a game to be able to play said character in. One of the folks in the channel, Sammy, hates the idea of all my dynamic lighting and doesn't understand how I can sit here and zen out and just you know calmly make little blue lines. Oh, fantasy novel. Okay, here's the deal. I say this out with all sincerity. The Wheel of Time series is the one I always go back to. My hands down, my favorite series. Uh, I love how intertwined every one of those characters' stories was. I loved that it deals a little bit with fate, um, and can you escape that fate? Um, but I will tell you that I started reading that series, and again, I'm old. I started reading that series in 1996. No, scratch that, 1992. I was still in high school at the time, and a friend of mine had it and said, "Oh, read this book; it's pretty good." And so I read it, and it took me almost a year to get through the first four chapters. Like I sat there and was like, "Oh, wow, it's not exciting." And then literally, I believe, if I remember correctly, it's on a page 103. I remember reading that book and going, what? Oh my God. And book done like a day or two later. I was like, I couldn't put it down. Um, and then for the following just decades, there are 15 books in the series. And I was just like, okay, so they came out with the first 6 books, and then it was like every year or two a new book would drop, and you'd been waiting. And I was such a rabid fan of it that, so before the new book, like the new book would get, they'd start promoting it, and then I would go back and read however many books were already out. I would just read the series over to make sure that it was all fresh for when I was ready to go. But then Robert Jordan died before he finished the series, and that was terrifying for me as a fan. I was like, no. What's going to happen? So they brought in Brandon Sanderson, who is also a very, very good writer, to actually Robert Jordan already knew how the story ended. So he got to go through all of the notes and learn all the secrets, and he's the one that finished the last, I believe it was, if I remember correctly, 3 books. But wow, yeah, I mean, it is. I like heroic stories. I like people when they're the heroes. You know what I mean? I was never a big Game of Thrones fan, because that's a little bit too how the real world would work, if that makes sense. And man, I get enough of the real world. I want people that defy the odds and are heroes, right? That's always what I'm looking for, I guess, when I read those type of stories. But yeah, Wheel of Time, by all means, that's the one I will recommend. Here's the other thing, guys. I will tell you that I haven't heard of The Color of Magic. I'm not familiar with that one. If T-Bar, how many times have you redone maps? I'm curious because I know you're a dungeon master. One of these days, I am going to be completely satisfied with my maps. Once it's all done, I'm going to be like, yeah, no, this is fantastic. I never have to tweak this one again. Um, but yeah, I think this is probably the second or third time that I've had to redo these maps, because you learn cool stuff, right? And you're like, oh wait, I can make things better because now I know stuff. But Blue, I'll give that one a look too. I wish I had more time to read. The being a dungeon master, like I said, it's what I do full time now. So most of my spare time is just doing this. Just kind of wanting to make sure that my players have a really good experience with everything. That all of this work, they don't even notice. They just recognize that, oh, hey, yeah, Johnny's maps work pretty well. And yeah, well, it's what is it? Hunting perfection or seeking perfection. I want the maps to be perfect, and I recognize that there's always going to be something I can do a little bit better. But trying to find a level where when I throw up one of these games, and the other thing for any DM listening, or if you're ever thinking about DMing, one of the things that I was very adamant about when I started was that I love the idea of templates. That, hey, I'm going to do all of this work one time so that every time I run this game, I come back to the exact same template and just create new copies off of that so that I know the experience that the players are going to get. It takes a lot of work, right? Because you're not only... I don't ever really finish a template before a game starts. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll have the template game, and then I will also have a live game running. And then at the end of every session, it's me taking stuff from the live game and moving it to the template game, but then also doing all the work in the template game and using the transmogrifier feature in Roll20. That's one of my favorite words. But then basically taking all the stuff that I do in the template and putting it back into the live game and basically cross movement of everything. Gets confusing. I lose track of things. It's not easy. In a perfect world, I would not start a game until the template was done, but a lot of times I use the live game to figure out exactly what has to happen. Yeah, T-Bar, I'm actually doing a Dungeon of the Mad Mage on Saturday, and oh brother, I feel your pain with the dungeon crawl maps, because great gobbledygook, man. Those things are massive. The Tyke Maps, Tych. I give him a lot of props because I use his maps for all of my Waterdeep games. But the Mad Mage files that he has, level 3 is 9 maps that are all combined together. So one level is 9 different maps that you have to kind of link everything through and make sure that you're putting labels that are telling you, okay, if they go through this area, they're going to end up over here. So nice thing about that polygon line tool, guys, if you didn't know it, is that it's nice because then when you do close it off, it auto ends it for you. That's a fun little feature, so you don't have to worry about your lines dragging. Just keep in mind, guys, when you do lighting, and you've heard me say it a couple times, but it's that important, is you always want to, as you're doing your lighting lines, is simply because when the players are on here, you want to make sure that their players are not going to get caught in an area where their token goes outside of them, because if your dynamic lighting lines also restrict movement, they're going to end up in no man's land, and you're going to have to manually rip them out. Hello, Valexion. How are you today? Welcome. We are just doing some dynamic lighting in an updated map for Wave Echo Cave for the Lost Mine of Phandelver adventure. And just talking, what are we talking about? We're talking about books. We're talking about getting started in D&D. We're talking about a lot of stuff. But welcome. Glad you're with us. One other recommendation, guys, and this is just me, thinking about this. It's good to do these type of dynamic lighting things when you have some time, because if you start rushing this, you start taking shortcuts, and then all of a sudden you're missing doors. You're doing stuff like I did earlier. Then yeah, poor Gloomstalker. Yes, you need shadows, buddy. I want my Gloomstalkers to have shadows. At the same time, most of my players are always like, oh, yep, dark vision. I don't care about your lighting. I just want to see everything. So yeah, there's I don't know. I love playing humans. That's one of my favorite races to play. Oh man, Reaper. It's okay, buddy. We're all old. Du- 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 du. Okay. So, Reaper, if you go to under news and events on our Discord channel, if you go to players' resources, and at the top of player resources, you'll see a thing that says pinned messages. If you scroll down there, you will see the character backstory worksheet. Now, Gloomstalkers are good. I have just a little while ago, I was saying that you end up with a lot more characters than you do games to play them in. Yeah, man, I remember reading Gloomstalker going, oh yeah, this is gonna be a thing. I'm gonna get me some of this guy, and yeah, I never had a chance to play one yet personally, but. Oh, fact. But yeah, taking your time on these, and again, making sure that, again, because there's as you were hearing, I mean, there are classes that rely on shadows, and as much as you can do some theater of their mind and make sure the players understand that this is what you can or cannot see. Um, Unfortunately, in the digital age and playing digitally, uh, people really rely on what they can see on their computer screen in order to make some of those play decisions. So, again, taking your time doing this, guys, will make the game run better as you go. Yeah, it's funny. I had a human wizard playing in my Dungeon of the Mad Mage game, and I made him. He had dancing light tokens. That was his light source. So he would just literally cast those, and just those would follow him around the map. Oh, wait a minute. Yep, that's a wall. No, actually, oddly enough, if you, Carlos, I will tell you, buddy, if you just crack open, actually, I think if you go onto D&D Beyond and set up an account, you can get, and someone would have to confirm this for me, but I think they give you the basic rules for free, right? You can just have access to those, which will kind of walk you through some character creation of like choosing the race of your character, choosing the class, rolling your stats. Um, but then, really, the backstory worksheet is agnostic in that way. It doesn't care who you're playing. It's going to ask you. It's just creative writing prompts, I guess, is probably the easiest way to say it. It's going to say things like, "Hey, did your character have a nickname growing up?" And you're going to go, "I don't know. Did my character have a nickname? Yeah, his nickname was this," and then you write it down, and then that, of course, will throw things out there of being able to say stuff like, okay, why, how did my character get that nickname? Oh my gosh, yeah, no, this happened, and oh my gosh, this happened, and that's all that is supposed to do. Now, some of that, guys, I will tell you that that stuff might not make it into whatever game you're playing. But as a dungeon master, one of the things that I actually try to do is if I can take a couple pieces of your backstory and add that to whatever story we're telling, you know, I call those like those little spotlight moments where we're going to spotlight something about your character and everyone's going to learn something about your character, a little bit of your backstory. One of the first Lost Mine games I did, I didn't have that big of a worksheet, but one of my characters, I was like, okay, well, who trained you? And I got that name, and I actually changed out one of the NPCs that they meet that's supposed to be helpful to be the guy, the elf who taught him how to fight with a sword, who'd been sent by his mother to go back into an arranged marriage. And it was just a really cool moment for that character going, wait a minute, that's Ulrich, that's the guy that trained me. And I go, yeah, that's him, buddy. And it was so fun for me as a dungeon master to watch, and it was just, I wouldn't have known that without the character taking the time to tell me that is. So yeah, Carlos, you don't have to worry about not having the books to actually make your character, right? You can get an idea of basing it on someone, and just run with it. Hey, Bellman, what's up, buddy? Yes, look at me, just hard at work. All of the stuff that happens behind the scenes for you all. Oh, Ryan, so this is going to be fun for you. So Ryan and I met when I was playing in a different Dungeon Masters Lost Mine of Found Delver game, and we played for a couple of sessions together. I loved his character. And however, this is the map I use for Wave Echo Cave. Maddie, what's up, buddy? Welcome. Glad you guys are here. Happy that you are. Oh, wrong color. Let's get back to my wall color. See, Blue's been around. If Blue is still here, yeah. Blue saw me, watched me do all those doors and say, yep, I think I found all the doors. And never fails. I always miss a few. Overlap is important as you do the testing. So you always want to make sure that you're trying to keep those doors and those blue lines flush. Otherwise, those look great. Got some stairs here. Yep, and there we go. Yeah, Ryan, this is... there you go. Remember that escape key, kids. That's important to start new lines. Alt-Z. Yeah. Yeah, guys, I'm a Mac user, so if you give me a hotkey that... And look at, see, and this is what happens, guys. And then I find this... What's this little ghoul doing over here? Hey, guy, what are you doing over here? You're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to be fighting people. You're just hiding? Okay, let's get you out of this, and let's... Whoa. For me, it's Command Z. But, let's get his token resized correctly. There you go. My players have had it easier because that silly ghoul was just hiding over there in the corner. And happy birthday, Ryan. Happy birthday. I would sing to you, but I'm just not I don't know that I'm comfortable. Happy Birthday is actually one of the hardest songs to sing, in my opinion, and actually sound decent at it. Is the Super Bowl started yet? Does anyone know? Oh. And guys, so Ryan and Matt are both in the cast of our Oracle of War stream, which, as a shameless plug, did just get posted to our YouTube channel for episode 2. So if you'd like to see what we're doing during the Oracle of War campaign, that's 2 of our cast members right there, and you get to see, you know, all of our warts as we're learning how to stream in a good way with the technical side. I watched a bunch of videos this morning. I did go out and buy an external hard drive, and because I did get some recommendations that when I record, I should put it on an external hard drive instantaneously, so it's not taking up hard drive space. And again, I'm at the point where I'm willing to try anything. So sorry, zoned out for a second, guys. Just making pretty blue lines. And other than that, so give me 1 second, guys. I'm gonna mute my mic so my answer my phone. And apologies for the interruption, everybody. Oh, hey, it's Sammy. Yes, buddy. Click, click, click. Goes the dynamic lighting. Let's see. Where areas have I missed? And yep, that looks right. That looks right. Doors. Blocking line of sight there. We are updating Wave Echo Cave. Blue, it was a pleasure. Thank you for the like and follow, and I hope to see you soon. And I will give your guys. Blue does do some creative writing streams. It's in the chat, so let's go ahead and give a subscribe there. And thank you very much for hanging out. yeah, guys, then this is just the world is, you think you're done and you're like, and I think that's gonna, nope. Nope, more walls. And hope everyone has had a decent Sunday. See, I played another episode of Oracle of War with our Sunday group today. And exciting things happened for them. And of course, I have my cast here who has not done it yet, so they don't get to know any spoilers. Oh, but that's what you have kids for, Reaper. That's what you have kids for. They should be doing those house chores. At least that's my theory. My kids don't do it, but I'd like to think they would eventually. Functioning human beings that I'd like them to be. All right, so this is interesting. So, on this part of the map, there's actually an underground stream that only one of my parties has found as they've gone through Wave Echo Cave. Most of them have gone the other way, have never gone into that pool. Who enlisted? They're not that old. Are they really that old? Maybe they are. God, that scares me. But you just want to make sure you leave enough room for the players to potentially get to this area. And then it is going to be a wow. Neat. So then it's just truly trying to make sure that you are cutting one room off from another here without it necessarily breaking things. So we're going to follow this around to the water and close off our circle here. And then at the same time, you want the characters that if they do go into the water, I want them to feel a little claustrophobic. Because they're technically underground, making their way, not necessarily Shawshank Redemption style, that it's a tight little tunnel that they're going through, but it's not poop, so that's cool. And then that will spit them out in this area right there. One of the things that is the idea, even as you're doing your dynamic lighting, it's okay. I do this all the time, jumping around and adding things that will just give you a reminder on the map. So again, I try to keep everything connected. So all I do is I'll just make a cool little yellow box here with the opposing yellow box kind of trapped in this dynamic lighting, just so I remember that it's going from this point to this point. And since that's on the Dungeon Master layer, the players don't see it, but it's just you go from here to here, and you can technically do the same thing of going, okay, I'm going to go, this is connected to this on the Dungeon Master screen. And those can be labeled. Whatever's going to make it easier for you as the Dungeon Master to remember where people are at. And, okay, so that area is now nice and enclosed in the blue lines. Actually, I'm going to close that part off too. But I need that in blue. Okay. And now we're back to this dilemma here. All right. So, technically that is one whole room here, but I don't like it. I don't like that the players can just come up the steps over here to the right and just find an unguarded entry to where the black spider is. So, what I'm going to choose to do is I'm going to build... Well, normally I'll put a wall in right here. So I'm going to keep that for now until I can think better of it. But now, from the player's perspective, this is the room. And only because I'm going to go a little bit like wanting things to be balanced. And that technically there's nothing on that table that I care about that the players need to know about. So I'm just going to destroy that whole area, keep that completely hidden. So as a player, all they see is the nice equal distant columns here with the spiders hung up in the cobwebs. But just, not to mention Nesnar the Black Spider will sometimes cast darkness, which also means that the characters don't have as wide of ways to go around to get out of that darkness. So, and I hate that because, yep, I got rid of that. So now I have to... Let's try that again, because I need that to be a single line. And, I don't think there's even supposed to be a secret door there, but I feel like Nesnar would have a secret door. So let's add a secret door this time. And as I said before, I like my secret doors to be yellow. And I think Nesnar would probably want to be able to leave their bedroom, come right through here, and just have a little secret door that goes into that hallway. Now, if the players find it, fantastic. They can get the jump and come on it, but otherwise it's just an option. Plus, it might actually give the black spider a way to escape. Yeah, that is not a bad idea, Sammy. I mean, this is definitely, it's game-wise, it is one of my favorite games to run. I love it. It's just, it is fantastic. So now the other thing that you always, and the reason why you want to be very careful about this, guys, and if you see me turn my head to my side, I never want, when you're inserting the secret doors and stuff like that, it's always important. I would like to think that no player would, if they notice something like a little line crooked, I'm definitely going to look harder at that area that you screwed up as a dungeon master. So really taking the time to make sure that that line is as seamless as possible. And the reason you have to do a separate line is it's a limitation of roll 20 when you pass through dynamic lighting, is that you have to have it so you can move that line out of the way. So during game, player goes, I look for secret doors, fantastic. I come here and I have to select the secret door, and then I just do stuff like this. I just move it, out of the way, or sometimes I'll drag it outside of the other line so I can find it again. But now they would know that that's a secret door that goes in that way. The other thing I do is I have... Let me go to a different map that has the labels. So I do like to label stuff. So yeah, this was what I was working on last week. So all of these have been re-updated with the thin lines, the light sources that are always going to be in there, and labels. I love labels. So to be able to just copy that and dragging things between maps like this is also very helpful. So you can... This is our only secret door, is going to be somewhere right in here. So let me just make sure I remember where. And I'll just kind of center that directly on where that wall is, so that, again, I remember. And let's see. Oh. Big caverny area. Caverny. It's a word. Blue line. You know what? I've never had a characters go this way either. How weird is that? Huh. Interesting. Apparently I need to put some, like, treasure or loot right there. That way people can sniff it out. Nah, but for the parties that come this way, guys, they almost inevitably run into that flame skull that's sitting right there. So this is sometimes one of the more deadly areas of the map. I don't know. Are you talking, Sammy? Are you talking lawful good or just any lawful alignment? I'm curious. Yeah, I was going to make that exact same point. I love not lawful evil. One of my favorite old traditional, alignments. I love the idea of a code. You know, Bellman, I actually always think more, well, and most recently, The Mandalorian. Right, this is the way. And again, it's the interesting thing, and it's what I've always believed about alignments in general, is that as your character evolves, so should your alignment. It's not necessarily something that always has to be that. You know, I tell the story, guys, of when I was playing a ranger one time, and I was doing the right thing, and I had to make a deal to save my party member, but it was technically an evil act. So then all of a sudden, oh, I became a fighter, and I was so just grumpy about that. And I was young, and I was like, you took away my cool ranger stuff. And not really thinking that maybe the dungeon master thought, oh, we're going to have a cool redemption arc for you now for you to get this back. I just went, go, whipped up my character. I was grumpy. I was sad. Didn't have a nap that day. And then things like this truly just, boy, it can sometimes clunk down a game. So I try to use these sparingly, the line of sight blockers. I also don't like that it turns things gray, or it makes everything behind it black. I think that it's just enough for you to block your line of sight. So that's always, so again, I try to keep those to a minimal. And again, that's just, those go to that, those go to that. And I think, I don't want to jinx myself here. I think we're good. That's that room, lights. Okay, so now once my walls are in and my tokens are all the way in, this is why the lighting is always the thing I do for last. This was a new update in Roll20 that they just did a month or two ago, that I had never seen before. Yeah, the smoky mist is always what I would go for too. So they have these great things where it's just a light tool. So you just drop that thing, and when you come into the token itself, it's going to show you what these are set for. So right now, this, 20 feet of bright and then 20 feet of low light. So a lot of times I like to change these to not necessarily be the light source, but I do like to maybe drop this down because these are more campfires. So again, 10 feet of bright and 20 feet of low. And then instead of doing the drag and drop anymore, now I just simply go to more of a cut and paste. So again, that's this. And also, depending on the maps you're using, guys, if they were made in Dungeon Draft or something like that, they can control lighting. Like when they were designing this map, they actually put their own light sources in so that as you can see where the shadows are. So that's also kind of makes it helpful to know that, okay, cool, that's where light is. And the rest of this place is dark. Bugbears have a little thing here lighting them up. The Spell Forge, and I like to throw a light on the pedestals themselves, only because that whole area is just pretty wickedly cool. This one is described that these things show light, so I'm going to drop a couple around here. And I want it to be a little bit stark because the rest of the dungeon has been, these things are technically supposed to be glowing. And then I love this room with the spores that can come out and jump out at players, so I'll throw a couple of lights in here to give a glow effect. That should also start coming down this room a little bit. These rooms are all dark, and they're coming from the darkness, which means these are the only areas of light. Perfect. And coming back and simply do we want Explorer mode on? Explorer mode is great, guys, because again, when they start, it's literally them. It automatically does what I always used to hate about. I was never the good cartographer when we would play, but I had guys that had grid paper that would just be tracking the full dungeon, could just draw the whole thing out. That was never me. I was always too involved in what cool thing is my character going to do. But with Explorer mode on, that means when they start, as you explore the map, you'll always be able to remember where you have been. So when you zoom out on the map, you kind of see everything that way. And then the last one, you always want to make sure that dynamic lighting barriers restrict movement. So players are restricted by all of these lines that we just put in. And we are now saved. All right, guys. Other than that, that's Malcolm letting everybody know that my wife might be home from work. All right. Well, guys, I hope. Hey, thanks everybody for hanging out. I think this was I appreciate everybody being here. I appreciate everybody watching. Don't forget, guys. Please follow us. Please follow the channel and make sure that you're keeping track of us and what we're doing. Tuesday night, in just a couple of days, we'll be doing a live stream of the Oracle of War on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And then also, guys, tomorrow, I have it on our schedule that I'll be doing this starting about 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Going for a couple hours, just prepping for the games for the week with a nice little checklist of everything that I'm working on. Guys, don't feel free to reach out to me on social media. I'm everywhere is at Johnny Gots Dice. You can also follow Unplugged Games. So by all means, guys, just it's a pleasure to talk with you all and hang out. I appreciate it, and I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. And hey, maybe we'll see what's going on at that halftime show. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.